So this week I am going to try my new machine, my new bottling machine. Now I'm going to do a full review of this later on when I worked out how to actually use it. But I was going to transfer all this honey that I've just cleaned quickly, clean the top off. I was going to transfer all of that into my honey settling tank, but for two reasons it's not necessary. Because one, this machine is going to pump the honey via a tube from there all the way into the barrel. It's going to pump it out into bottles or jars straight away. And the second reason is this is a coarse rapeseed honey that this client wants it just to be bottled. He doesn't want it creamed or anything, and it doesn't matter if it's not like 1000% refined, clean. He just wants it as it is. That's how they sell it in their farm shop. So, and it's obviously nothing wrong with that whatsoever, which is great. So I've just cleaned this, and this is what's just come off the top. You get a few little bits left here, but that's kind of the procedure. So now you can see this is all beautiful, thick rapeseed honey, ready to either to be processed further to made into a creamed honey, if you wanted to do that, or you can use it into this machine. So the Swienty Bottling machine I bought, it's the 2000 model. There's a 1000 and a 2000, I think a 3000 model. This machine is actually more than I need. It comes on its stand, it's got a rotary turntable, and you have the facility to basically connect up your machine to another barrel or a creaming device, and then pump it straight from one to the other. Because in here, you can probably see it now, I haven't primed it yet, there's cogs that turn. Let's have a look at this, shall we? Let me show you what this is inside. I have put the dripper on the bottom already on this part, the anti-drip valve. Let me show you inside here. This is how it works basically. It's kind of a foolproof machine that's been made like this for years. Going to lift that back so you can see inside there's two cogs. So one's gone into the back of the machine there, you can see, and they basically turn, and as they turn they drag they go kind of like this way and like that way, so the flow is down the middle, so it forces the honey. So what I've got to do first is I've got to pre-prime this, and I've got to make sure that I can suck up the honey. But it'll be actually quite easy to suck up the honey because there'll be moisture in this, in the cogs here that are plastic anyway, so it won't overheat. It's just come up error because I've just taken the pump head off, but that's fine, now it's gone back to normal. But then as it pumps, it will form a seal, and I'll have to empty the air out first. Takes a while to prime it, but then the pump will be primed. And then I'll be able to calibrate it. I've got to calibrate it as well. And even if I fill one jar at a time, that's fine for me because it's a heck of a lot easier than doing it by hand, and it'll be precise. Excuse me. So the machine overall is a tried and tested machine. A lot of people use these in Europe, and Swienty were at the show in America I went to at the Hive Life conference, and they're now opening the market into America because this is a fantastic machine for bottling honey. It's quick, it's efficient, there's no drips. It's either a foot pedal on the floor if you want to do it manually, one at a time, or you have a timer and you put your jars on here that I'll show you in a minute, and they migrate around. They're filled here underneath the nozzle, and then they end up in the middle. It's not fully automated because you end up with jars arriving in the middle that will need to be taken off and the next phase done with them, whether you're adding labels or you're just moving them for storage. But it is automated in terms of jar filling. And that's the kind of level I'm looking at and I need for my business, so that I can fill jars properly, quickly and efficiently without having to use too much other equipment. It's kind of a no-brainer for me. This was the next step I had to go to. So I'm gonna get the machine primed, and then we'll see where we go from there. So it's taken me a while to configure the machine, to work it out, but we have results. But in the meantime, we've had pretty mega hailstorms. That's 3 buckets of wax. You can see the yellow on the top has now gone yellowy white. But while I'm in here, I'm keeping myself occupied. And look what's happening. The honey is going down out the barrel. I haven't had to move that out the barrel. and I am bottling honey. So let's give this a run and you can see how it works. Let's turn this on. We have a sticky needle. That's okay, it worked, it did it. Didn't make a mess. Oops. A few little adjustments to do, but this is what it's all about. Just got to bring back that a tiny bit, this bar. Just to give it a little bit more room there. So far, no mess. There we go, that's a bit better. How cool is that, huh? When you see this machine saving you all this work and it's come straight out the barrel, it's just the dog's Wotsits as far as I'm concerned. Need to slightly readjust the angles. And what happens now, that'll just keep spinning while I would then take the bottles off. It centralizes them onto the middle and they just keep turning around there. So I could put these couple back in now that didn't fill. And they should just fill up now on their own. There we go. No drips, I've got an anti-drip nozzle here. The honey is quite liquid in the barrel there. Need just to realign that so it's slightly more centralized, but it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to turn this off now, stop the rotation while I just do other stuff. But I think you'll agree that's pretty amazing. I'm totally made up with it. I've got to thank my mate Ollie Nolan, who I visited in Ireland. You might remember last March, and he was on about me to get one of these machines. I saw his one there. I was really impressed with it, and so I went and got one. He said to me, "Why aren't you using your honey bottling machine? Because it'll be perfect to use it for this." And he's absolutely right. I just needed to get my finger out my backside and get organized and do it like this. So as you saw, I melted the honey down the other day. It was nice and warm. It's easy to use. And it goes straight up the pipe. I've got a little air bubble there, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. It's still filling perfectly. So I'm going to leave it for now. I know I might have issues as that barrel empties, but as the barrel empties, it's easier for me to handle it anyway. And I could put the big metal funnel on top of here to use that instead. But the biggest thing for me is, even though I'm not using this machine as I will be when I'm in my new building, because when I'm in my building, this machine will be connected up to my creamer and I'll have it better set up in a more of a sterile environment. Even though I am taking care, everything's been washed and cleaned and we're doing nice clean jarring, it will be a better environment. So when I'm more set up, this machine will really come into its own and it'll be the mainstay of all my production. So whatever I'm using can be run through the machine really quickly. But the long and the short of it was just to show you that I've used the machine and it seems pretty good. I'm well happy with it. A lot of money, but you know what they say? You pay your money, you get your goods. You know, hats off to Swienty. It's been built to be totally cleanable. And Swienty are such good engineers. Everyone I know who's got one says they're absolutely amazing, you know. But I just can't believe, I'm only starting to understand the programmer. I'm one of these people, you know, I've got the book here, where is it that came with it? I've read about 2 pages and thought, you know what, let's do trial by error. And then I managed to get the basic idea. I've got to watch this because this is a bit hard on the top of the machine because it's into the barrel. So I'll probably put a support in a minute on top of there just to lift that up and hold that pipe in the honey like that. It's just little things I have to do, but say when I'm into my workshop, I'll have a little bit more of a better setup for that. But overall, I think it's an amazing machine. It's so well thought out. Underneath, it's on a beautiful stand, completely portable. And this has been well built. It's got a proper plate to support this. So you can see that it's really solid. I don't need the bigger version, but I've got it. And who knows what will happen in the future, but I've just got a really good quality head on it. So it should last for absolutely years. And all the people I know have got them, it does last for years. Welcome back to the honey house. As you can see, we are all done. I've got all the honey from the barrel here. Well, I say all, virtually everything, and I just wanted to show you how the progress went. I finished kind of last night quite late, but that was my own fault because I stopped and had a break. But overall, the machine was amazing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lovely piece of kit. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous, this, isn't it? I mean, we're talking, it's just, look at this. This is a funnel, okay, that goes on top of the machine here. I'll connect it up now. And what it means is you can do small doses with your, let's get that on so it doesn't fall off. So there you go, that's connected. So it means you can do small doses of honey with if you don't want to have a pipe coming in from somewhere else. So I haven't cleaned the machine out yet, there's no need to, but there's no wastage, and all the honey that was in there stopped there when I took the pipe out of here. Last night I just put the pipe back in, the heater back in, you can see it's clear. So I'm going to take this out now, and then I'm going to tip the barrel on its side into a bucket, which is I can do now. See how I've got the bucket slightly higher because the pipe wasn't quite getting to the bottom, but I managed to get it just to where it was now, and then I'd just opened up the pipe and everything else that was in it ran out because I'd finished basically the honey. So all these are potted up. Excuse me. All nicely done. They're already starting to go change colour. The machine is good. I had a couple of spillages, but that's no big deal. It's exactly what I expected. I learned a lot by using it. I wasn't, as I said before, I wasn't going to use it at all. And now I kind of learned a lot so that when I do use it a lot, when I'm doing this on a more regular basis, I'll have everything I need to use. But this funnel is beautiful. And Ollie said to me, get this funnel because it will be really good and it holds like, I think it's 30 kilos. So if you've got a small amount in a tub, for instance here, I might run this through. This is some summer honey I've got. I might warm that up tomorrow or tonight and then stick it straight in to get the bucket empty and just pot it up, for example. Because you can run really small batches with this machine. And when I showed you before, I was filling, you have up to 20 different programs. So what you do is you put your pot under the delivery tube and then you turn the machine on and you put in 500 grams for 500 gram pot. So the machine will run in what it thinks 500 grams is. So then you take it off and you weigh it on your scales. And if it was, say, 385, you'd add another 150 to it by going up or down. And then you'd press enter and then start again. And then you'd get the next amount in another pot. Okay, you use a few pots in the calibration process. But what it means is by the time you get to the end of the calibration process, you can get each pot to within a gram of the exact amount. So that has many benefits, because also we want to be producing a product that is exactly the right amount, so that we're not wasting it, so that the customer gets the exact right amount. And so imagine if you put 20 or 15 or 10 grams extra in every pot, in 100 pot, that's 100 grams you've lost that you're not getting money on. So the beauty of this machine is it enables you to do that. And when you save that data, it takes up to 20 programs or 20 settings that you can save. So say I've worked out the weight of the spring honey. Okay, that'll be program 1, P1 it comes up as. So then when I come back next time, when I do the next lot, I just go to P1, select, and it knows that it might be what it counts as 100 or 562 grams, for example, to fill the 500 gram pot. But then I do 1, and then I weigh it, and if I need just to add 2 or 3 more grams because it's a different temperature, or the weight of the honey is slightly different, I can just adjust it, but it knows the rough amount for each batch I do. And that's why this is such a cool machine, because it's got an amazing memory, and you can build in different memories with it. And also you can adjust loads of things. You can adjust the speed of the rotary table. You can adjust the speed, the motor fills the jars, and you can adjust the pause between what we call the block time, which is quite difficult to understand. But underneath, that's the controls that sends the message to and from the sensor here. But once you begin to understand, you realize how much of an amazing tool this machine is. So I'm just emptying this barrel out now, and we'll just let that drain on its side for a few minutes. This is obviously easily done when you've got a long sink. So would put that in the sink end once it's drained. And what you can do is when it's on its way to the sink, you just keep turning it slowly so you don't get any honey dripping off. But obviously the best thing to do is just to use what you have and take your time. This will fit in my sink in my kitchen, believe it or not, and then I wash the other end over the draining board. It's not ideal, but that's why that when I build my new honey house, I've got a big double sink which is actually sitting over there in the back. You can probably see it right over there. That's going to be going into my honey house, and when I've had a few adjustments done on it, it'll be all good. So there you go. Let's get this emptied, tip this honey into a bucket, then get it into here, and then we'll be able to just pot up those last couple of pots. This honey is still warm, and that's the key to it, is keeping your honey warm. Because if you're dealing with warm honey, it's so much easier to deal with. And it's also very runny, so you've got to be careful. Might just make that a little bit higher. There you go, like that. That was close. So that's draining well. You can see there's quite a bit of crystals at the back on our... There you go, that's solid now. And that's how I deal with a barrel of honey. Everything has come out of there. There's a few little bits at the bottom, but when I was washing out my bins, remember last spring over there, this is what we were seeing in the barrel at the end of it. So I'll give that a couple of minutes to there's a couple of little bits here of uncrystallized honey, there's a few little bits here of crystallized honey, but that'll all go through the machine, and then this honey will actually crystallize really quickly anyway. So as I said before, get yourself some of these scrapers. They're absolutely brilliant for scraping out the last of your honey from your barrel. You get your head in there, but often you get it in your hair and everything, but at least you can get most of the last bits out. But the amount you're wasting there is probably less than a kilo, and you know what? There's only so much you can do. You have to realize that when you're handling in bulk, it's obviously less than if you're using lots and lots of buckets, because if you divide the amount of buckets that would have taken to fill that up, there's always some in a bucket you might waste, and times that by the amount of buckets compared to a barrel, there's your answer. So because I can, I'm going to run this last of the honey through this very fine filter, and it should go through really quickly, just in case there's any sediment from the bottom of the barrel. So I'm just going to do this quickly, and then that will drip through. You've got to be a bit careful when you're lifting up weights. It's a bit of a height to tip this in, but I'm kind of used to it now because I've done this a lot. So I'm just going to tip this in pretty slowly, and hopefully it'll just go straight through. Yep, that's good. So it covers me, you know, I'm getting out any tiny sediment that might be there, that I might have missed. And we're okay, good, that's the weight gone. And because the honey is warm, it comes out pretty quickly, which is so much easier than thick. It's like you pay a little bit in electricity, but we insulated the barrel well, and to be honest, it's worth every bit of it, having it clean and done. So look inside there, there's not actually hardly anything in there that I'm going to waste. So that's pretty good, that's all out virtually. So that can be washed out and cleaned out as well. This is done. We're ready just to pot up those last couple. So as you can see, the last 3 pots are done. These 2 were pots that were half filled yesterday when I was priming the machine and working out it all. This one was one that's just done today it's got a little bit of bubbles. I'm going to check these 3, and I'll have to use the spoon method to just balance out the honey to make sure I get that right. So I just stop the rotary part, and then I'll be able to measure. This one should be virtually bang on the money, and that'll be 1 kilo and 300 grams if it's right, because I haven't got one to do the tare with, but I know the weight of a jar is 300 grams. There you go, 1286. So that's pretty good, considering the honey's a different temperature from yesterday, and I just put it in the machine and I had some air bubbles in it as well. So it just gives you an idea, a slight overview of what this machine is, what it can do, how flexible it is. My opinion is I'll give it a 20 out of 10. It's absolutely a game changer. But if you're in a business with 2 or 3 people or on your own, I would say it's the #1 piece of kit you use when you're jarring lots and lots of honey. Because first of all, you're saving honey because you're putting the right amount in the right dose into each pot. Secondly, it's efficient. You're not wasting time. When you get this running, you can kind of, in comparison to bottling it by hand in a honey settling tank, it's totally a no-brainer. Third, I know these machines will last a lifetime. I'm not getting paid to do this video. I'm not getting paid to sing about it, but loads and loads and loads of my professional beekeeping friends have got these machines, and they will last you a lifetime if you look after them. So, I'm done. I've got to get this honey into the car tomorrow. That's another thing. I mean, it's one thing getting it in the supers. It's another thing getting it into the workshop. It's another thing getting it out of the supers into the barrel, and it's another thing again getting from the barrel into the pot. But you can see kind of what I'm doing. I'm kind of streamlining my processes so that I can do all this on my own without any help, and it's going to be more beneficial to me long term. But my next project is to obviously get the building up, but within the building I'll have a place where this will be up permanently, but it'll be dust free because it's in a sealed environment and all that kind of thing. This isn't really how I wanted to do this, but I've kept everything clean. I've done the best I can, and it's absolutely fine. The guy having this honey, as far as he's concerned, it's perfect for him. It's for a farm shop. And there's a notice on his labels that said, this is the product that we sell here. You might find bits of wax in it, blah, blah, blah. So if they're happy with that, then that's fine. But what I'm getting at is, it's all work in progress. I learned a lot by doing this. I knew how to do it because of my previous experience in my previous workshop. But when you come to do it on your own, in your own place, it's a different thing altogether, because you're having to put everything into place without the equipment and the previous experience from someone else's place, if you know what I mean. But overall, complete success. I've dealt with the honey, I've moved the barrel, I haven't spilt any. I had a couple of spills yesterday, a couple of things to work out, but overall, because of my friends and all the help I've had that I've pulled from everybody else, which I'm eternally grateful for, I've got a product now which I can knock out and sort out. So anyway, until the next time, Catch you again soon. Bye for now.